Through our skills of understanding our own individuality, we are really good at refining characteristics and finding factors, and maybe even looking, you could say, for like key factors, like what's the reason that I do this, or what was the cause for all of this? What is the problem? What is the solution? This, like, I guess you could almost call it like a fetish of unity of problem. Like, that if we could just drill down enough, if we could just get a strong enough microscope, we could see the real, true, final essence that can't be reduced anymore and is just the one thing that needs to change. And I think that that same fetish is responsible for making us feel a lot of guilt. Like, maybe you're doing a lot of sitting and not working, or maybe you're doing a lot of working and it doesn't feel productive, or it doesn't feel like it did when you used to leave the house to go to work. The point is that you could be trying to find, like, well, what am I doing wrong? That's a question you could ask, and it's not a wrong question to ask, but I think it's only half of the questioning. If we start with that, let's say, like, maybe I have trouble, like, not overeating when I'm at home, and since I'm at home all the time, I eat a lot. And so it's like, if I'm gonna call that a problem, I'm eating too much, then I could see how I refine that down from myself, that I might in general be like not satisfied with what's going on, and so I'm trying to find some sort of problem in myself to remedy. But instead of doing something to that problem and coming back to myself, I should also be able to go from anything and get back to this same problem. I should be able to see that problem as a problem exists uniquely now. What I mean by that is that even something that we might understand as a perpetual problem, like overeating. Overeating could always be a problem. But then there's also overeating in a more specific context, like, we are Americans in the 21st century, and so, like, overeating is a common problem, or maybe something we don't even see as a problem. And then there's also the most specific context that you could get is, like, overeating, for someone during the pandemic, during social isolation. And then that gets into overeating for specific people, someone who's in a family with a bunch of other people overeating, or someone who's by themselves and lonely, or someone who typically overeats when they're stressed, or someone who has never overeaten in the past but is having a problem with that now. All of these possibilities are examples of historical possibilities of overeating today. And I can understand my own problem with it better by understanding the way that it is a historical problem. It's not simply me. I am experiencing a manifestation of that problem. One way to think about it is like if you bought a car and that car had some kind of a recall on it. Let's say like the windshield wiper quit working. Not everyone who buys that car is going to have that same problem with the windshield wiper, but you might have that problem. And so what you do is you go and you address that problem maybe before it happens, maybe when it happens, depending on, like when you heard about it, whether you were informed by your dealer or you had to find out on your own or you saw it on the news or you didn't find out until it was broken and you took it in and found out that it was recalled. The point is that the recall and the problem was not just your problem. It was something that happened to vehicles that came out of a certain place during a certain period of time. And then a certain probability of those cars experienced that problem. You were just the one who bought that car. That car was going to have that problem, whether it was yours or someone else's. It's actually an example of how you experienced something that was really mechanistic and not something you were a part of. It was going to happen. You're just the person that bought that car. And so you might have this problem of like, oh, my windshield wiper's broken and I have to take my car to the shop and I don't know, I have all these other things to do and so that's a real pain in the ass. But your problem of taking that windshield wiper to the shop is itself related to this historical problem of things coming out of this factory that had this one malfunction and were going to be spilled out into the world, and those problems were ready to be manifested in particular ways. Your experience of that problem is just a particular way. And so it's the same thing right now where like we have a lot of time to reflect, and as Americans in the 21st century, our reflection tends to overemphasize the drilling down, this find the problem, remedy the problem, and then go back to a wider perspective. But what I am maybe implying is like a sort of zooming out. Like maybe what we don't only need to be doing is looking into ourselves for specific problems, but we need to see specific problems attached to specific moments. This is particularly evident right now because overeating during the coronavirus pandemic is a really unique kind of overeating, and the solutions that it would require maybe wouldn't apply other times. Maybe the solutions you would normally use won't work right now. But overeating for me always also comes with its unique problems, And I have my own personal methods of dealing with my overeating. This makes it so there's a kind of overlap between my overeating and overeating during the pandemic. Mine is a kind of overeating during the pandemic. And that doesn't mean I'm not responsible for addressing problems I'm having, but it does mean I don't have any reason to feel guilty.